I have missed you so much. You have no idea. What a terrible time to test positive for COVID the weekend before Yom Kippur. Seriously, it is a rabbi's worst nightmare. And the days of waiting and worrying, 5 days to determine whether or not I would be able to stand on the bima for Kol Nidre. I didn't realize how much I would miss being with you on the holiest of holies. I didn't realize how important it would be for me to hear Kol Nidre chanted in person. I didn't realize how important it would be to be able to deliver the sermon that I had prepared, although Rabbi Lass is an awesome pinch hitter, and I thank him from the bottom of my heart. And now, you'll have to wait until next year, and I thought 5 days was a long time to wait. I was so grateful to be able to watch online, though. And as Rabbi Jen said, it reinforced how important streaming is for our seniors and our homebound members who can't get here in person. The cameras are amazing. And I understand how our congregants think that we're movie stars. I mean, George Clooney doesn't even hold a candle to our clergy on the bima. Temple Israel is an important place, not just to me, I would venture to say to all of us. It is our home. Now, as you probably know by now, Seattle is my hometown. I like to say that I grew up in the shadow of Mount Rainier. It's where I went to school, I met my friends, where my parents live. I root for the Mariners, even when they play against the Tigers. I know, Rabbi Josh, I know. For the longest time, whenever I would go for a visit, I'd say things like, I'm going home, or it was great being home. And Sheldon would gently, in a very good-natured way, say to me, this is your home. And of course, he was right. I've lived in Michigan far longer than I've lived anywhere else, even Seattle. This is where I raised my children, where they went to school. It's the community that has become our family. But there is still something very special about the place where you grew up and the place your parents live. However, for the past 2 months, my parents have lived here in Michigan. They came for the 25th and they stayed. It has been an incredible gift. I moved away for college and haven't lived together with them except for vacations ever since. So these months have meant a lot to us. We took day trips around the Detroit area. We went to Greenfield Village, boating on Cass Lake, apple picking. We puttered around the kitchen, making dinner and banana bread and chocolate chip cookies. We played games like our old favorite Scrooge, which is the best card game ever, and I'm happy to teach it to you one of these days. You might know it. Some people call it multiple solitaire or nerds. Not familiar? Okay. Well, whatever the name, it's a tackle sport in our house. And my dad loves Mexican Train, so we played a little of that too. And we spent time watching movies and just had a lot of fun. And in our free time, we talked and reminisced, and we looked through photo albums, and we told stories. Like when my mom was little, she was the only girl in her neighborhood, and she played outside with all the boys. And a favorite game was Jim and Joe, their version of cops and robbers. And of course, my mom, Joanne, was Jim. I laugh every time I hear that. She says she liked the name Jim. I heard about how their family built a pool in their backyard because there was no place for Jewish kids to swim in Canton, Ohio at the time. And I heard about how my dad was in the advanced Hebrew class in his classical Reform congregation in Cleveland. And frankly, I'm surprised they even taught Hebrew, let alone advanced Hebrew. And how his father learned English by reading Madame Bovary side by side in Hungarian and English. And I never even detected an accent in my grandpa. The stories that we tell are important. They tell us who we are, and they highlight the values we want to impart to our children. There's a line in the Torah that I often go back to, and it happens to come up in this week's Torah portion, Ha'azinu. Moses addresses the people and as they stand at the border of the promised land. He reviews the past in order to prepare them for their future, a future he knows he will not see. He says, "Remember the days of old, consider the years of ages past. Ask your parents who will inform you, your elders who will tell you." We are meant to transmit stories and values to the next generation. It's why the phrase L'dor Vador, from generation to generation, is so important to us. What's important is the wisdom that we find in these stories, the lessons that shape us long after the games are over and the photo albums are put away. They are stories we remember about people who are important. When we listen to our parents and our grandparents, we're not only learning about their childhoods and their favorite foods, we're learning about how they made decisions, how they treated others, how they became who they are, and why their values are so important to them. And for the most important things in life, we don't actually get an instruction manual. Heck, you barely get one when you buy a blender these days. So how are we supposed to figure out what to do? How do we know to take chicken soup to a sick neighbor, or in our case, our family's favorite egg dish? How do we know that we're supposed to prioritize family above all else? How do we know the value of philanthropy and donating to causes? How do we know what's really important in life? We learn them from the people in our lives, our role models, our teachers, our parents. From my mom, I've learned perseverance. As the only girl in the neighborhood, my mom was spunky and confident, and she wasn't afraid to play with the boys. And in fact, she had a great time. And from my dad, I've learned humility and curiosity from watching him study and question and never stop learning. And from both of them, I've learned what it means to open your home, to set an extra place at the table, to treat friends like family, to be open-minded and a good person. In many ways, these lessons are the Torah of our lives. They may not be written down on parchment or in a scroll, but they are just as sacred. They teach us how to behave, how to make choices, how to love, and ultimately how to become the best versions of ourselves, which is quite apropos given that yesterday was Yom Kippur. And vice versa. I believe the Torah is the equivalent of these lessons for Judaism. The Torah stories are ours, the laws and ethics and values passed down generation to generation. And how else are we meant to learn them except to ask our mom and dad? I do have to say that I am a little bit regretful that I didn't record my parents while they were here. We talked about doing it several times, but we were just too busy sightseeing and playing and being together. But fortunately, Zoom has a record function, and I'm instituting a weekly oral history for our Zoom calls, where I will record my parents answering pressing questions like, what was their favorite dessert when they were kids, or their favorite book, or telling us about a time that they got in trouble. No worries, though. I'll also ask them about their values and their experiences and their life lessons. Moses wrote his lessons down on parchment, but I'm pretty sure Zoom will be good enough for me. Shabbat Shalom.